Ah, this game is so wholesome. It's just a bunch of good girls being good friends with each other. Oh. Oh no. Oh shit. If you're anything like me, recent years have probably left that giant JRPG-sized hole in your heart feeling a little unsated. Sure, there's been a steady flow of smaller JRPGs coming out, but they've lacked that bombastic blockbuster feel that each new entry to the genre in the PS2 era was dripping with. As trends and tastes changed, they took a backseat to muscle-clad jarheads, and our beloved genre simply wasn't publicised and celebrated like it used to be. Well, I've got some good news. Blue Reflection is the antithesis of this shift, starring an endearing cast of high school girls facing a host of teenage problems and a charming tale of friendship. Blue Reflection comes to us from Gust, developers of the highly renowned but cult classic Atelier series that, I'll be honest, I slept on during the Dark Ages mentioned before. The game was released in 2017 as part of the developer's Beautiful Girl Festival project, alongside Atelier Firis and Knights of Azure 2, each game being connected by, you guessed it, beautiful girls. Blue Reflection takes that general theme and focuses on the youth, friendship and bonds of women, with a healthy dose of Sailor Moon injected into it. Blue Reflection is the tale of Hinako Shirai, a girl whose promising ballet career comes to a devastating end at the hands of a knee injury. After arriving at school a term late due to battling the accompanying depression of a permanently ended dream, she meets several of her classmates, mysterious twins Yuzu and Lime Shijou, and Sanae Nishida, an elementary school classmate who is excited to see Hinako again. Things quickly take a magical turn. Sanae's excitement causes her to have an absolute meltdown, and Hinako is transported to the Common, a dreamlike realm that serves as a kind of melting pot for humanity's emotions. That's where this happens. Yup, Hinako is a magical girl. She is soon joined by two others, the Shijou Twins. They eventually explain that the meltdown is caused by her fragment, a kind of emotional core, going rampant, a phenomenon unique to the high school. As the reflector, it's up to Hinako to stabilise these fragments by listening to their bearers' troubles and coming to an understanding of them. Soon after, this guy shows up. Lime and Yuzu explained that the monster is one of 4 Sephira, individually known as Sephiroth. No, not that guy. The presence of which is causing the fragments to go rampant, as well as granting access to the Common. To end all of this, the Shijou Twins explain that as the reflector, it's Hinako's task to collect the fragments of her classmates and use them to defeat each of the Sephira. While initially reluctant to take on this task of saving the world from giant demons, they quickly convince her that achieving victory will grant her a wish. She realises she can use this to repair her knee and take to the stage once more. Combined with her injury not being present in the Common, allowing her to move freely, this is enough for Hinako to willingly take up the mantle of Reflector. From there, the game becomes a series of endlessly endearing tales of the trials and tribulations of the average high school girl, with the backdrop of a magical girl adventure. Hinako begins interacting with many of the other girls of her high school, solving their problems and befriending them in order to acquire and strengthen fragments to take on the Sephira. The story and the characters within are undoubtedly Blue Reflection's high point, as we bear witness to and overcome each of these girls' struggles, as well as seeing Hinako herself overcome the depression of her lost ballet career along the way. With each case of bullying, romance and familial woes, Hinako's shattered spirit is slowly healed, and it's a genuine joy to see her grow and learn through friendship that she doesn't need ballet to shine. The stories of the other girls are no less poignant and relatable, even to this 30-year-old geezer. Whether it's Kei's tale of being given the cold shoulder, best girl Chihiro overcoming her shyness, Kaori facing up to bullies due to her interests, Yuri learning about emotions, or Akko being overwhelmed by her success as a live streamer. Just kidding, I get 0 viewers every time I go live, please follow me. The majority of these stories are executed with so much sincerity and charm that you can't help but fall in love with this sometimes quirky, sometimes vindictive, and sometimes aggressively normal cast of girls. And then there's Shijou. Of all the girls' stories, there was only one that left me feeling a little unpleasant. As Hinako gets to know Shijou, it becomes clear that she is a gigantic pervert. She peeks up Hinako's skirt, steals her underwear, tries to guilt her into some nebulous activities, and it finally culminates in a bit of molestation. This particular story is not done entirely poorly. To its credit, when Hinako learns of Shihou's feelings for her, there's no repulsion, but acceptance and understanding. However, Hinako's willingness to just forgive Shihou's more aggressive and creepy behaviour comes across as neither realistic or acceptable, and certainly not grounds for a friendship to blossom. It's a small blemish on an otherwise impeccable series of heartwarming stories though, so I can't knock the game too much for it. The wonderful cast are further bolstered by these cute little cutscenes that play out between days, showing the girls doing mundane activities like swimming, sitting in class, or getting ready for a play, and there's a few radio interviews that are quite cool too. These glimpses of their day-to-day lives, free of the troubles you'll be focusing on otherwise, grant you an insight into their personalities that really endear you toward them. While they won't develop any plot points, they're an invaluable tool that the game uses to immerse you in its world. Now, this next part's going to be a bit spoilery, so skip ahead to the on-screen time if you're not into that. You've been warned. Quick, click it. Hinako's tale of forming bonds climaxes with an incredibly heartbreaking look at one of the more unfortunate sides of friendship, loss. After finally defeating 3 of the 4 Sephira, Yuzu and Lime come clean about the reality of the situation. They've been dead all along. The Shijou Twins were experimented on by their father, a scientist researching the common before their untimely demise in an accident. The experiments allowed their spirit to linger thanks to their ties to the common, with the unfortunate reliance on the existence of the magical realm. When the 4th Sephiroth is defeated, they will disappear along with the common and all memories of them. Hinako finds herself unable to defeat the final Sephiroth after this, allowing it to escape. What follows is one of the most harrowing hours of gameplay in the genre. The Shijou Twins show up at Hinako's house and the trio hang out for one last day. The next day, Hinako can speak to each of her other friends about the situation, all of them offering words of kindness and encouragement, even the surly Mao in her own way. They also send her messages of encouragement and support via her phone's table chat app, basically WhatsApp. It's a fantastic way to show just how much caring there is between Hinako and her new friends, as well as the huge impact the Shijou Twins have had on all their lives. Witnessing Hinako having to make the choice between her best friend's continued existence and the fate of the world at large is heartbreaking. Only those bearing the iciest of hearts are able to make it through without shedding a tear. By focusing on loss, it completes the cycle of friendship that lies at the heart, and it's a bloody huge one, of the story. Blue Reflection is a timeless tale and examination of friendship, how the bonds are formed, how they flourish, and how they come to a bittersweet end. It's a theme that's universally relatable, and it's executed with such impeccable mastery and charm that Blue Reflection is a story that will forever stand the test of time. Blue Reflection's gameplay across its 12 chapters is divided into two main sections, the daily life of a high school girl and the adventures of a magical girl, with the two intrinsically linked by the power of fragments. The structure of these 12 chapters are a lot like the Persona series. You spend a little time doing high school activities followed by trips into the common or Sephiroth fights, though it lacks the unyielding, strict calendar system of that series, somewhat to its detriment. Most chapters will start you off in high school mode, wherein Hinako can go talk to her friends, inviting them to the city's various locales or engaging in bonding scenes with them. These social functions are actually pretty bare bones. Each time you invite a friend somewhere, your bond meter rises, and each time a bonding scene occurs, you are generally given a choice that will earn you a fragment. When your bond meter is high enough, however, you will be sent into the common to stabilize your friend's fragment one last time, bringing that character's story to an end. Unfortunately, that's really all there is to the high school segments of the game, and as such it can feel like they're only really there to serve the story and magical girl sections. There's a Tamagotchi style minigame and a stuffed toy hunt, but they serve no real function and can safely be ignored. On to the meat of the game then. There are 2 times Hinako will don her magical girl dress and do battle, when entering the common to stabilize a fragment, and when a Sephiroth appears to try and punch you in your face and kill all your friends. Charming guys. The common itself is also a little bare bones with nothing to explore, so Hinako spends most of her time here fighting the demons threatening her friends' fragments. Combat largely operates on a turn-based system, though this is represented on a constantly moving timeline rather than with a turn order. When it's one of your girl's turns, you're given a bevy of options in the form of various attacks and abilities. Later you'll also unlock several abilities for use between each combatant's turn. Combat revolves around a pretty generic weakness system. Attacks have a trait such as slash, heart, impact and pierce, and it's up to you to best utilise these to dispatch of your opponents. You don't really have to figure out their weakness though. Simply selecting an attack will bring up a target list with a symbol to represent how they react to that attack type. A circle means a weakness, a cross means a resistance, for example. It lacks the puzzle solving I really love to see in my JRPGs initially, as you can just kind of mow down the demons by manipulating this simple weakness without any real effort whatsoever. Later on, when you get groups of enemies with varying weaknesses and resistances, however, it gets a little better, but the disappointing truth is that Blue Reflection's combat is underwhelmingly easy. There are a number of contributing factors to this. First of all, MP and HP are reset to max after every fight, meaning you're never having to manage your resources at all. Simply throw out your strongest attacks with each girl, and you'll usually wind up killing everything before they even get to attempt an attack. You don't have to worry about your MP, so there's no deterrent from this, and any enemy that comes close to reaching you on the timeline, on the minimal chance that you don't get an initiative granting strike on them in the common, will be easily delayed by the knockback effect quite common in attacks. Secondly, even when encounters start getting tougher, you'll unlock the ability to stack attacks using the Ether resource. Frequently using this to first buff one of your girls, then use their best multi-target attack would do more than double the enemy's health in damage. Later on you'll even gain the ability to stack up to 3 attacks and abilities, which culminate in a devastating group attack, resulting in an even easier time of things. There are a number of other abilities that Hinako and friends unlock, such as guarding against enemy attacks and manipulating the timeline using Ether, but they're frankly unnecessary. It seems like your abilities ramp up way more than the enemies does, resulting in a game you can easily beat without taking a death. It's made even easier when you start using fragments, perhaps the most interesting part of the game both mechanically and thematically. Fragments are basically augments to your abilities, allowing you to increase their capabilities. For example, if you have fragments that increase a target's attack and speed, you can slot them into Yuzu's ability to restore everyone's MP. Now when you use that ability, all 3 girls will have their MP restored along with a buff to attack and speed, turning them into fully fueled powerhouses. Again, not a hard game. As you increase your bonds, you will unlock stronger and more diverse fragments that can be used to great effect in the battles you'll face. It's a great way of tying the bonding sections of the game into the combat, as well as being a powerful mechanical representation of the game's core themes. As Hinako helps her friends find the strength to overcome their struggles, so too do they help her. And that's not the only time they come into effect in battle. During the fights against the Sephira, the only real mechanical change is the ability to call upon your friends. They each have a different ability, whether that be kicking a can at the giant monster, increasing the team's stats, or reviving them should they actually manage to die. Perhaps their most useful function is their ability to grant you an ether boost, however, allowing you to stack attacks, guard, or any other ether using ability. I mentioned earlier that the game's lack of a strict calendar system was to its detriment, but that's not entirely true. To go into that, I'll first need to explain more about the game's structure. Most of the game's chapters include free time, a period that tasks you with solving the problems of the high school in side quests for a certain amount of points, then exchange those points to move on to the next chapter. It's also during this free time that you'll be bonding with Hinako's friends. The problem is that this free time is essentially infinite. The only thing that ends the day is either going home or hanging out with one of your friends, beginning a new day in the period of free time. This means that you'll likely be completing enough or all of the side quests, turning in your points, and moving on to the next chapter all in the same day. So you'll get a single bonding point with any of Hinako's friends, missing out on a lot of the cutscenes and fragments attached to them. This happened to me, and it wasn't until I was reaching the final chapters of the game that I realised this issue, forcing me to grind through the bonds and effectively killing the pace of the game in its climactic moments. It's a problem with a slew of solutions though. A strict calendar system in the vein of the Persona series would have given you a few days between each chapter to work on these friendships. Better yet, limited HP and MP recovery could have been used to great effect to properly pace the game. As the game is, you're never forced to recuperate your resources, halting your side quest progress. But if they were limited, you would have ample opportunity to work on the bonds by being forced out of the common. I don't think the gameplay of Blue Reflection is necessarily bad, it just has a few too many faults regarding difficulty and pacing. There's still a lot of fun to be had, but it's more to do with seeing the charm of the game in things like combat animations and the bonding system, rather than enjoying the actual process of the gameplay itself. It never got boring to see Lime's adorable little teddy bear beating up demons after all. Is this the dubstep the kids are into? Blue Reflection's soundtrack is an absolute feast for the ears. Music isn't something I'll typically talk about, being completely uneducated in the subject, but it's one of my favourite parts of this game. There's music here for every mood, and it's all as fantastic as it is eclectic. Emotionally heavy moments accompanied by sobering piano and orchestral sounds, or when the action kicks in, you'll be jamming to what I think might be dubstep. I don't know. I'm not usually a fan of whatever it is, but it works perfectly for this game, and when that means magical girls fighting demons, it's got to be doing something right. As well as being some fantastic music to bop to, as the kids say, the soundtrack goes a long way in establishing the game's atmosphere. The more somber songs complement the overall sound design, voice acting, and cutscene direction to set a tangibly melancholic mood befitting of the game's narrative. Blue Reflection is far from a perfect game. but one that captured my heart and took it along for a magnetic, graceful dance. One questionable storyline makes the rest no less engaging and poignant, and some overly easy gameplay arguably only serves to accentuate the animation work and charm of the game. Blue Reflection is a flawed gem, and a few scuffs and scratches make a diamond no less radiant.